23-year-old Angie Barlow may or may not have believed in ghosts, but she did send a text message to her best friend of 11 years that was meant to be funny. When she went missing and wasn't found for months, this text message made everyone feel bad. In this case, nothing happened for 8 months. What's so frustrating is that some people think they know exactly who took Angie, but they can't prove it. Whoever did what happened to Angie 8 years ago, did they really get away with it? Why don't we find out? Angie Barlow was born on August 21st, 1993, in Denver, Colorado. Her parents are Stephen Barlow and Christina Kramer. The 3 sisters she had were Wendy, Jessica, and Zariama. They were very close by. As a big sister, Angie was both watchful and fun. Growing up, Angie was always different. She was fierce, loyal, and loving because of the way she felt. Christina, her mother, said she was the stubborn child. Angie determined to complete a task. Angie went to high school and got her diploma from the Career Center when she was older. Angie was really good at sports in high school. She liked a lot of games, but softball was her favorite. She also liked bowling. Angie was the personification of joy. People like her like to discover new things, leave their comfort zones, and try new things. As an adult, Angie and her best friend Mona Jackson moved from Muncie, Indiana, to Indianapolis. They even found an apartment together. Mona said that Angie was more like family to her than a friend, and that they did everything together. It was clear that Mona and Angie would help each other no matter what if they were in trouble, and Mona would show that in this case. Angie didn't know what she wanted to do after high school, so she got a job as a dancer at Club Rio on West 38th Street in Indianapolis. Angie really liked her job, even though it was an interesting choice. She liked being artistic and expressive, and it was clear that the money was nice. Christina, Angie's mum, didn't like her job though. Christina never stopped Angie from doing what she wanted, but she would rather her daughter did something else. In a talk, Christina said, "She liked what she did. I didn't though. To be clear, I don't think any parent likes that. No matter what, Angie felt safe. She wouldn't have done it if she didn't. And she thought this was just a short-term plan. She was putting money away, and even thinking about stopping dancing to do something more stable and well-paying in the future. Angie got paid to dance, and she would also do private house parties as part of her job. She was used to doing them because she had done them before. All in all, Angie was a strong, independent woman who loved life and loved finding new ways to express herself. However, no one thought that Angie would just disappear one day without a sign. Until October 2017, that is. A friend sent Angie a text message in October 2017. She was going about her day. For $500, the woman wanted to set up a private dance to surprise her husband on his birthday. It was an interesting birthday present for a married man, but it was fine. By the way, Angie did sometimes host secret parties, so this wasn't totally out of the blue for her. Angie and Mona both thought it was strange that the woman never said her name. While Angie didn't give it much thought, Mona felt very uneasy about it and begged Angie not to do the gig. At first, Angie also said no to the offer and went on with her life. But the strange client kept calling her. Angie felt like she had to say yes at some point. Angie was already living a good life, but in a big city like Indianapolis, it's always nice to have a little extra cash on hand. Plus, Angie needed the cash to pay her bills at one time. In the end, Angie agreed to do the gig and was getting ready for it. Soon after, the client texted Angie the address of the apartment and the door code to the front door. The party was planned to take place at Landmark Apartments and Townhomes of Indianapolis. Again, Angie didn't know where this place was either. Angie was also told to wear either black or red underwear to the job. Now it's October 26th, 5 days before Halloween. Angie is getting ready for the gig, and just to be safe, she texted Mona the address and door code. Angie used to tell people where she was when she was having secret house parties with Mona. This way, someone close to her always knew where she was. Angie left the house once she was ready and sent Mona a text message that said, "Having a private party at this address, just in case I go missing LOL." So, this message doesn't seem scary at first glance. Instead, it looks like a funny talk between friends. But unfortunately, this was the last time Angie would talk to Mona. Angie shared a picture on Snapchat around 11:45 p.m. after a few hours had passed. It looked like she was getting ready for the party in the bathroom of the house where the party was being held. The picture was happy, and Angie was thrilled. Angie didn't look upset, scared, or anything else. She looked like she was ready to start the party. But night came and went, and Angie wasn't heard from when the sun came up. She never came home, so Mona stayed up all night to wait for her. While this was going on, Angie's mom, Christina, was also beginning to worry about her. She kept calling, texting, and leaving voicemails for her, but no one answered. Keep in mind that Angie had a Yorkie named Pablo as a pet. She would always come home after a gig to feed Pablo and take him for a walk or to go to the bathroom. The flat of Angie, on the other hand, was empty when Christina got there, and Pablo was eagerly waiting for Angie to return home. Angie wasn't the kind of person who would just up and leave. Angie's family and friends were very worried about this, and it made them sad. When Mona hadn't heard from Angie in a few hours, she chose to go to her house where the party was being held. There was no one there when she went to the house and rang the bell. This made Mona feel very uneasy, and because she was a good friend, she let her gut take over. Mona climbed over the gate and opened the door to her apartment. When she looked inside, she saw a scary scene. There was no noise in the room, and everything was clean. It was very strange, and Angie wasn't there. Christina, Angie's mother, went to the police office and said that 23-year-old Angie Barlow was missing. The police were called right away because this was not normal at all, especially since Christina had said that Angie would never leave her dog alone for so long without food or water. The cops were told where Angie was last seen, and they also went to the apartment where she was working at the party. The CCTV video was looked at right away by investigators in the hopes of finding any clues, which they did. See, there was a CCTV camera right outside the apartment. When the detectives watched the video, they saw Angie's car, a blue Pontiac G6, leave the building around 3:30 in the morning of October 27th. That wasn't the only strange thing, though. There was another dark car right behind Angie's, and it looked like both of them were leaving the building at the same time. The cops were even more angry because they couldn't see the drivers in either car because the video was blurry and the windows were tinted. Because of this, the police thought that either someone was following Angie or she was out with someone else from the party. Why didn't she answer her phone, though? Angie should have told her family, or at least Mona, about her plans after the party, if she did have any. They still worked very hard to find Angie. People searched the ground and put up signs saying missing everywhere. The Barlow family even shared their worries on social media to try to get the word out, but unfortunately, nothing was found. At the same time, the police were looking for any information they could find about the second car that was parked right behind Angie's. They couldn't see the driver, but they could read the license plate number. When they put it into the system, a name came up. The owner of the car was a woman named Raven Miller. That same day, the cops also learned that the strange client was actually Raven. Who was she, though? However, Angie knew who she was, even though the police didn't. The two of them weren't getting along very well. In the past, Angie had been with a guy named Baron McCullough. They had a thing when they met at a club where she worked as a dancer. The relationship didn't go any further, though, and they broke up. It was clear that Raven didn't like Angie because she was now dating Baron. But Angie's friends didn't like one thing. Angie and Raven didn't even talk to each other. They weren't even friends. And Angie wouldn't have gone to the party in the first place if she had the smallest idea that Raven or Baron were trying to invite her. Angie didn't know the party's phone number or address, though. The client, who was probably Raven, stayed nameless, which made the police think that Raven was trying to keep her identity from Angie. It was scary to think about what this could only mean. Angie was invited to the party, and there may have been another person there that night. You see, Mona says that Angie would have left the party right away if she had seen Baron or Raven at the front door. But she went inside and even took pictures of herself looking happy in the bathroom of her apartment. She didn't seem to have any clues that she was with people she knew or had problems with. So, the agents narrowed the case down to one scary possibility. Baron and Raven got Angie to come into their flat by using someone else, but she was no longer there. With all of this new information coming out, the cops questioned Baron and Raven. They were very cool, and according to their story, they saw Angie at the party at their apartment. She left after her gig with an unknown man, though. It made the agents even more confused after hearing this because they knew they had reached a dead end. It wasn't clear how Raven and Baron were connected to Angie's disappearance. Even though Raven's car was seen following Angie's car, detectives couldn't tell who was driving either car. Her car was found 12 days after Angie went missing. It was found empty 8 miles from the apartment where she went to the party. Detectives and Angie's family were looking for anything that would help them find her. But all hope was lost when they got to where the car was. Even though Angie's car was found, it was in bad shape. There were big dents in the front of the car that looked like someone had driven it right through a barbed wire fence. The car had big dents on the sides, and one of the headlights was broken. The inside was also totally wrecked. Christina was very worried about this because Angie was always responsible and safe behind the wheel, and she also kept the car clean. The car was brought in for DNA testing, and the things that were found inside were taken out and kept as evidence. The cops haven't said whether or not they found anything useful inside the car. The search for Angie was still going on after this was found. Angie's family even offered a $5,000 reward for any tips or solid information about her. But alas, there was still nothing. It must have been very hard for Christina and Angie's sisters to feel the way they did. It's hard to keep your mind and heart strong when you think about your missing daughter and don't know where she is. You keep hoping that she will come back safe, sound, and living. But from that point on, things only got stranger. There had been no sign of Angie for 4 months when Christina got a call. That was the same number that was used to call Angie, and when Christina picked up the phone, it was Raven Miller. During the call, Raven said that the night Angie went missing, she talked. Raven's answer to Christina when she asked what they were talking about was really creepy. "Oh, you want to know what she said last?" she asked. "What did that mean?" Christina felt bewildered and scared. Angie wasn't alive anymore, right? What did Raven say, and why was she so sure of what she said? If that wasn't enough, Raven and Baron moved away from Indianapolis and settled in Arizona. If anything, that made the pair even more suspicious. But even at that point, there was no proof to hold them accountable for Angie's disappearance, which is so frustrating. 7 long months had passed since Angie's disappearance, and even though her family was still hoping for a miracle to find Angie alive, needless to say, it was getting harder and harder to keep their hopes up, which is so heartbreaking. But something did happen at that 7-month mark. An arrest was made, although it was unrelated to Angie's abduction, but not completely. See, someone had made an $8,000 exchange. You might be thinking, well, what does any of this have to do with Angie? Well, it doesn't have anything to do directly with Angie, but the account belonged to Angie's grandma. Someone had information about Angie's grandmother's account and had taken money from her account. Now, this was concerning for the cops, because what were the chances of Angie's grandma getting robbed just months after Angie's disappearance? Since something didn't seem right, the police traced the behavior to a woman named Michelle Brown. It wasn't normal for her to say what she did about the deal. Michelle said that she chose her account number by accident and that she didn't know Angie's grandmother, but you have to accept that this couldn't have happened at a better time. The police clearly didn't believe this story, and 3 more people, DeAndre Twilley, Marquise Bell, and Eric Newton, were arrested on suspicion of theft. However, none of this had anything to do with Angie's disappearance. The police are pretty sure that at least one of these people had something to do with getting Angie to come to Raven's party. But the police had to deal with that later because they got a call almost a month after the crime. Someone gave information without giving their name, and that person said they knew where Angie could possibly be found. Again, both the police and Angie's family were filled with hope and dread. Christina believed that Angie would be found living and well. According to the tip, Angie was found in the backyard of a house that hadn't been lived in for a long time. This house was almost 10 miles from where Angie was last seen, which was in the 5300 block of East 43rd Street on the northeast side of Indianapolis. Soon, CSI teams and cadaver dogs were all over the place, and the cops were really scared of what they would find. When the dogs led the agents to a spot in the backyard, they started digging. They were only a couple of feet deep when they hit something terrible. When the body of a woman was found in a shallow grave, detectives had a creepy feeling that it might have been someone they knew. Even though the body parts were broken down, there were still tattoos on some of them that could be used to identify the person. That's when the police knew Christina had to help them figure out who the body belonged to. Christina was initially hopeful when she got the terrible phone call from the cops, but as soon as she heard the words "coroner's office" and identifying a body, her heart sank. This is the call that every parent dreads. Regardless, Christina went to the coroner's office the next day. Based on the pictures and tattoos, she was sure that the body belonged to her 23-year-old daughter Angie, who had died. To say that this moment shook Christina to her core would be an understatement. That horrible and sad picture won't leave Christina's thoughts, and every time she closes her eyes, she sees them. They tell her that her kind, strong, and independent daughter is gone. Angie's funeral took place in Muncie, Indiana, on July 2nd, 2017, and many friends and family came to support the Barlow family as they said their final goodbyes to Angie. She was buried, and Angie's family did everything they could to help her. Christina made sure that Angie's last moments before she was buried were perfect in every way. Christina thought she would never see Angie plan her wedding, spoil her grandchildren, or celebrate her birthday, a special date, or a win again. This was the chance for the Barlow family to give Angie everything she ever wanted, even though she couldn't be there to see it. See Angie's family go through so much pain all the time breaks my heart. Even though they had already lost their oldest daughter, the worst part is that the person or people who killed her are still out there and haven't been charged yet, even though police are sure they know who did it. It's just hard to understand these kinds of cases because no one can be found guilty without proof. You can't help but be wary of Raven and Baron, though. It can't be a coincidence that they did what they did after Angie went missing, and that Raven and Christina had that very scary talk. Raven asked Christina if she wanted to hear her daughter's last words. If that doesn't mean she admitted blame, I don't know what does. She hasn't been seen or heard from in 8 years, and still no one has been caught as a suspect or even a person of interest in her case. Raven has moved on with her life, and now goes by the stage name Bonnie Drip as a rapper. Bonnie Drip put out a song in January 2022 called Dollar Faux Dollar. The words to this song were what made the Barlow family and the internet angry and interested. Raven sings in her song, "Now I'm smoking on this Barlow. It was my choice to smoke them if I did." Another group of armchair detectives thinks that smoking on Barlow means Raven is making fun of Angie's death. Although we don't know if the police are looking into this or not, it is still disturbing. Putting the word Barlow on purpose in a song is a scary and strange choice of words. Angie's case got a lot of attention, and in 2020, podcasts became interested in it after reading about it on Facebook. Ever since then, she has made it her mission to bring attention to Angie's case and tell her story. That just goes to show that social media is a great way to get the word out about cases like Angie's, that the Barlow family can finally move on with their lives. I just hope that Angie's killer or killers get what they deserve for their horrible actions. The girls who are sisters to Angie miss and think about her all the time. The younger sister of Angie, Zariama, still sleeps with a stuffed owl that her older sister gave her and named Angie. It's the most important thing to her because Angie gave it to her as a last gift before she disappeared and sadly died. The police in Indianapolis are still looking into possible leads in the case of Angie Barlow. We can only pray and hope that Angie's case is over because her family needs and deserves it so much. If you know anything about this case, please call Crime Stoppers at 317-262-TIPS. Pretty sure everyone knows how this case is going to end. I just hope it ends quickly so the Barlow family can finally move on and get some peace of mind. That's all for today's case. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think justice was served? If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a new case. Until next time, stay safe and keep seeking the truth.